Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has rubbished claims that the government was forced to carry out 3 major roadwork projects in the corporate area at the same time or risk losing funding. Details from TVJ's Ashane Masters.
Minister without portfolio in the Job Creation and Economic Growth Ministry, Darrell Vaz, on Wednesday during the post-cabinet press briefing, had explained that the roadworks being carried out in the corporate area were being done at once in an aid to prevent the loss of funding. Mr. Vaz said when the Andrew Holness-led administration took over in 2016, the projects were running behind in the set timelines. However, speaking on RGR's Beyond the Headlines on a Thursday, Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips, who was a finance minister in the last administration, said he was not aware of any issues with the timeline associated with the projects.
There is no risk, as I said. No one, the Chinese authorities never spoke to me, that is 2.5 years ago, as minister, about any delays with the project then. If they felt there were delay issues, why would they redesign the project in relation to Portia Simpson Miller Square? Why would they redesign any project that they felt was behind? Let it happen.
Dr. Phillips also argued that it's unfathomable that the government could lose the money as it is a loan and not grant funding. He insists loan terms can also be renegotiated.
If they had a problem with their bankers, there are many solutions. Bankers don't close down a loan halfway.
Mr. Vaz said there could have been no extension on the use of the funds.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And there are other funding possibilities if you have that problem with one banker. You're not tied to any particular contractor. Absolute nonsense.
Questions have been raised regarding the government's decision to carry out the 3 projects at once. The roadworks have led to several traffic changes and hours of delay for some commuters. On Monday, there was gridlock in sections of a corporate area after the authorities closed the intersection at Portia Simpson Miller Square, more popularly known as 3 Miles, to facilitate the roadworks there. Ashane Masters, TVJ News.
People's National Party PNP councillors in the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation have taken issue with how the Southern Coastal Highway project will be carried out in the parish. Councillor for the Landui Division, Edwin Marr, raised the issue in yesterday's monthly meeting. Mr. Marr says he's not dictating to the government how the work should be carried out, but says the proposed outline is a disgrace.
I am not dictating to the government, but I want the three things that I to understand that we need better. We need better in this parish. And we can't sit as councillors elected by the people. And we can't sit and allow us to fail the people of St. Thomas by being dictated to by the powers that being given us. It can't be that we sit down like this. We need to have somebody to speak to us concerning what is happening in St. Thomas Reef, the Southern Coastal Highway. This is a disgrace to St. Thomas and its people.
In the meantime, his colleague Hubert Williams of the White Horses Division believes that the Shady Spring area should have been rehabilitated first.
So that is an 8 million thing with the man will come and use and put in our particular space. That can't work. Look at the situation by Shady Spring here. If one shop broke down at Shady Spring here, the whole parish lockdown. So the first place you should spend that is right there. Why? Why? Because the division is run by a PNP councillor. So they will not spend the money there. It can't be. That's the way we think as a people if we want to develop the parish. Because the most important place for people right now is Shady Spring.
Some members of the Ski Mask gang previously based in St. James are now operating in Trelawney. Head of the Trelawney Police, Superintendent Dwight Powell, says a segment of the gang led by Adrian Walker, otherwise called Lippy, is operating in Bunkers Hill. 6 members of the Ski Mask gang were killed during a gunfight with the security forces in January last year on the Trelawney-St. James border.
We're going to advise them to put down their gun, stop their criminal activity, because we will not run away. Our job is to ensure that the society is maintained in a crime-free way. So when I advise them and their family members to bring those people to us, because our effort will be relentless in pursuit of them.
Superintendent Powell was speaking yesterday at the Trelawney Municipal Corporation meeting. He said 3 Farmers Watch programs have been established in the parish and stakeholders are working to form committees.
The consultative committees is those bodies that we want the citizens to partner with us to share your ideas as it relates to prevention of crime and violence in our space, so that we can ensure that Trelawney remains a safe place.
At least one leader of the business community in Clarendon is calling for a state of public emergency to be declared in crime hotspots in the parish. The call from Dr. Winston Dawes came after the police said that Clarendon topped the list for murders so far this year. He said such a measure would give residents and business operators at least some short-term relief from gangsters. With 102 murders, the Central Parish has assumed the unenviable murder capital tag once held by gritty police divisions such as St. James and St. Catherine North.
I see where we are now, the murder capital of Jamaica, but this is not surprising, given that a lot of resources have now, which could have come to Clarendon, and now in St. James and in St. Catherine North. But at the same time, it is easy to avoid the fixed checkpoints, for example, in St. Catherine North by taking the highway. And Clarendon already was ranked 3rd or 4th with murders prior to the state of emergency being declared elsewhere. So the criminals can migrate into fertile grounds.
Detectives from the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch CTOC yesterday arrested the owner of a pharmacy, a pharmacist, and 2 employees at the location in downtown Kingston. The 4 who were arrested for breaches of the Pharmacy Act are expected to be charged for selling drugs without prescriptions. CTOC officers, along with those from the Pharmacy Council, visited the location at 1 p.m. and observed the irregularities in how drugs were being sold. Assistant Superintendent of Police Victor Barrett is warning members of the public to be careful when buying pharmaceuticals, adding that tablets which require a prescription should not be bought over the counter. There's an urgent call for the Health Minister and the Office of the Prime Minister to follow through on a commitment made to the Ebenezer Home in Manchester. Operations Manager at the home, Paulette Wheeler, says they are still unable to access critical drugs through the National Health Fund. TVJ's Shamela Pullen reports.
Residents of the Ebenezer Home for the Mentally Challenged in Manchester are currently unable to access drugs through the National Health Fund because they do not have the required forms of identification. The concern was raised earlier this year at a fundraising dinner where Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton promised to address the issue.
It is a shame that this is such an important issue. We do have an NHF, it's the taxpayers' money. It goes to support those who require assistance, and there's a group that's discriminated against because of a lack of an ID.
3 months later, Operations Manager at the home, Paulette Wheeler, says the situation is still the same.
When we get our medication through the NHF system at the hospital or at Manchester Health Department, we have access to NHF funding then. But when we have to purchase through the private pharmacy and the clients do not have an NHF card, we have to pay the full cost. As I said this morning, I had to order medication. Had we had the NHF card for those clients, it would have been a fraction of the cost to which we are going to pay.
Mrs. Wheeler says she has been speaking to the authorities about the matter and is becoming impatient.
They've said they will be working with us to try and get to try and get NHF cards for our clients. So I'm asking them again, please, we need the cards now, so we don't have to spend $30,000 for one medication for one client when we could spend 5. So please, we really do need your assistance, and we need it sooner rather than later.
Meanwhile, CEO at the NHF, Everton Anderson, says it's a matter they are working on, which should be resolved in another 2 weeks. Shamala Pullen, TVJ News.
Time now for our Fact or Fiction feature. We're asking, is this fact or fiction? The University College of the West Indies was opened to the public in 1950. And you can find out the answer to that question at the end of the sports segment of the newscast. In news overseas, Hurricane Florence has made landfall in North Carolina, but its crawling pace and overwhelming storm surges are setting up hours and hours of destruction and human suffering. Details from the CNN.
The days of waiting are over. Hurricane Florence is already making its presence known along the Carolina coast. The window for people to evacuate is closing fast.
This is a very dangerous storm. We are asking citizens to please heed a warning. Your time is running out.
Thousands of people are already in shelters across North and South Carolina.
My first thought was, Lord, don't let it flood, because I can't swim and I can't do anything but the flood. I would really panic.
For those staying home, the governor has this dire message.
Once these winds start blowing at that tropical storm rate, it will be virtually impossible for the rescuers to get in to rescue you. So they will be leaving, just like the others, because it'll be highly dangerous to be there.
And if you're thinking the storm's category means it's weakened, officials say, think again.
Just because the wind speeds came down, the intensity of this storm came down to a Cat 2, please do not let your guard down. The storm surge forecast associated with this storm has not changed. It has remained the same.
North Carolina also comes with some very serious specific concerns. The Brunswick nuclear power plant in North Carolina, only 4 miles from the ocean, shutting down production and erecting flood barriers today. It's one of 6 nuclear power sites that could be in or near the storm's path. Duke Energy and federal regulators say the plants are built to withstand major hurricanes.
I'm not worried about flooding here. They have plenty of pumps to get rid of the water that comes in.
Adding to that concern, thousands of dams in the region that could be inundated with the storm's heavy rain and surge. Some damage to these structures not out of the question.
And in sports, President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, has urged local players to seize opportunities in the 2018-2019 season of the Red Stripe Premier League, as their performances could lead them into the national team. Simon Preston was at Thursday's launch.
Since the end of the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, head coach Theodore Whitmore has been given credit for giving players who ply their trade in the Red Stripe Premier League playing time at the international level. President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Mike Ricketts, who was speaking at the launch of the league for this season, says local players must use this chance to get themselves into the national colours.
These players now can play to impress the selectors, and gone are the days when we had this influx of overseas-based players whom I have always said sometimes not better than those locals we have. So it's an opportunity for the locals to really impress our coaching staff.
Ricketts has also expressed optimism ahead of the new season.
We are really looking forward to the start on Sunday. Like I said last year, this time we're having issues, but this year it's all systems go. And Sunday we will definitely be starting the Premiership.
Cavalier SC midfielder Siobhan Marsh has set high expectations for himself this season.
For me personally, I target 25 goals this season, knowing the fact short last season I was injured for a lot of parts of the stage, and I finished with 10 goals and stuff, and I feel much stronger and much better. So I want to finish with 25 goals with my club and grab a couple goals on the international level.
28-year-old utility player Keithy Simpson has signed a 2-year contract with Waterhouse, and he is confident of their chances to succeed this campaign.
We have a good bunch of guys.
I can attest to that, and the coach of us working really hard and the players are committed. So I'm very happy with the players, yeah.
National player and UWIFC goalkeeper Amal Knight is hoping his team can get a spot into the playoffs after missing out last season.
We lost a few players, but I think that we replaced them pretty well. This year it will be a young group, and my task is focusing on the youngsters and helping them to build as possible. Get some maturity in the league because, as I said, they're youngsters, and with the guidance of myself and some other senior players at UAFC, I think that they'll progress well, and hopefully the top 6 is what we want to achieve at the end of the season.
Head coach of UE, Andrew Peart, agrees.
Excited, of course, because it's a new venture personally for me, and also for the university. We're very eager to get going and very eager to perform much better than we did last year. Last year we came down to the wire, where we finished 7th on goal difference outside of the playoffs, and this year we figured that there are some things we can adjust to change that to finish in the top 6.
5 matches will start the league on Sunday, while the Monday night match of the week, to be aired live on TVJ, will see Waterhouse hosting newcomers Dunbeholden at Drewsland. Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Simon Preston.
Finally this afternoon, the answer to our Fact or Fiction feature, and we asked, is this fact or fiction? The University College of the West Indies was opened to the public in 1950, and it's fiction. The University College of the West Indies was in fact opened to the public on September 1, 1952. The University Hospital of the West Indies, formerly University College Hospital of the West Indies, was the first teaching hospital in the region. The training of registered nurses began on January 4, 1949. The clinical laboratory to train medical, nursing, and other healthcare professionals received the first patient in September 1952. Sir Hugh Foote, a governor of Jamaica, formally opened the department on January 15, 1953. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.